Have you ever wondered why you have your mom's eyes, but maybe your dad's smile? It's one of the biggest questions in biology, right? It connects every single one of us to our family, our past, and our future. And it all boils down to one word: heredity. I mean, really think about it for a second. Your eye color, your hair color, whether your earlobes are attached or not. It feels like this deep, personal mystery. But today, scientists can actually calculate the odds of you inheriting these things. So how on earth did we figure that out? Well, to get to the bottom of it, we have to go back in time. And we're not going to some fancy high-tech lab. Nope, we're going to a quiet, peaceful garden tended by a monk. And this is our guy, Gregor Mendel. He was an Austrian monk, a biologist, and just a super curious person. He had a real passion for plants, and he was about to use that passion to solve one of nature's biggest puzzles. Now, Mendel's real stroke of genius was his choice of subject, the humble pea plant. Seriously, peas. By carefully breeding these plants in his monastery garden, he uncovered the fundamental rules that govern all of heredity. Okay, so here's what he did. First, he took a purebred yellow-seeded pea plant and crossed it with a purebred green-seeded one. In that first generation of children plants, every single one had yellow seeds. The green trait, it just vanished. Poof. But then, and this is the really clever part, he let these new yellow plants self-fertilize. And in the second generation, bam, the green seeds were back. And that was the million-dollar question. Where did the green color go in that first generation? And how in the world did it manage to just reappear later on? Answering this question put Mendel on the path to a truly revolutionary discovery. Mendel figured there must be some hidden rules at play here, a secret set of instructions that decided which trait got to be seen. He was basically about to write the first chapter in the book of genetics. So he started by naming things. He called the trait that always showed up, the yellow seeds, the dominant trait. You can think of it as being the bossy one. If its instructions were there at all, they were the ones that got followed. And the green trait? He called that the recessive trait. It wasn't gone or destroyed. It was just hiding. It was being masked by the dominant yellow, and it could only show up under very specific circumstances. So here's the key takeaway. The dominant trait, yellow, only needs one copy of its factor to be seen. But the recessive trait, green, needs two copies. This super simple but powerful idea explains everything, why the green seeds disappeared and then came right back. Okay, so this was a great theory, but Mendel needed a way to actually visualize it, to predict the outcomes. And his solution was a simple diagram that is so powerful we still use it in biology classes all over the world today. First, a little vocabulary. Mendel figured that for each trait, a plant gets one factor from each parent. Today, we don't call them factors, we call them alleles. They're just the different versions of a gene. So you've got the yellow seed allele and the green seed allele. And this gives us two really important terms. The genotype, that's the actual combination of alleles, the genetic code itself. Think of it like the recipe. And the phenotype, that's the physical treat you can actually see, like yellow or green seeds. That's the cake you baked from the recipe. All right, let's put it all together with the famous Punnett square. We'll use a big Y for the dominant yellow allele and a little y for the recessive green one. For that first experiment, the yellow parent could only give big Ys, and the green parent could only give little y's. So we put them on the outside of the grid, just like this. Now we just fill in the boxes by combining the letters. And look at that! Every single possible combination is big Y, little y. That's the genotype. And because that dominant big Y is always there, the phenotype, the color we actually see, is always yellow. Mystery of the first generation is officially solved. But what about when two of those hybrid Y plants cross? We set up the square again, but now each parent can pass on either a big Y or a little y. When we fill it in, we see three different genotypes are possible: YY, YY, and YY. And remember, that big Y always overpowers his little y friend. The only way you get green seeds is if you get two little y's together. And this is where it all just clicks into place. If you count up the phenotypes from our Punnett square, you've got 1, 2, 3 chances for yellow seeds, and only 1 chance for green seeds. That gives us the exact 3-to-1 ratio of yellow to green peas that Mendel actually counted in his garden. It worked! It all fit perfectly. What Mendel discovered was absolutely monumental, but it was also just the tip of the iceberg.
The rules he found in his simple pea plants ended up being the foundation for understanding the much, much more complicated genetics of pretty much every living thing.
Even with peas, things get more complicated fast because traits like color and shape are inherited separately. That means you can get all these different combinations, and trying to predict them just means their Punnett squares get bigger and bigger. And that brings us to the most important point. The rules Mendel discovered apply to us too. But if just a couple of pea traits can get this complicated, just try to imagine mapping out the genetics for something as incredibly intricate as a human being.
Look, modern genetics is an amazing field. We're talking about gene editing, personalized medicine, stuff Mendel couldn't have even dreamed of. But it's so important to remember that every single one of those breakthroughs stands on the shoulders of the work done by a humble monk in a garden more than 150 years ago.
So that's the story. That's how a bunch of peas unlocked the secrets of genetics. You could say Mendel gave us the rulebook for how life works. The real question for us today is what comes next. Now that we understand the rules of the game, how are we going to choose